A lot of people ask me if it's safe to upgrade to High Sierra when you're running Logic or like Final Cut Pro X. And I will also talk about like breaking rules as an artist making music and how just to be more interesting whenever you work in creative fields.
I keep dancing with my
Hey guys, welcome to today's vlog, welcome to the studio. Today is another exciting day. It's all back to making music, producing. As you know, I was busy working on the remix, couldn't share a whole lot about it. But first task for today, taking care of this right here. There are a couple of bottles in there. So this is getting picked up later in 2 or 3 hours and is then on its way to France. I think Paris or close to Paris. And there's like one thing about the giveaway I wanted to talk about because some people started complaining, but I will do this at the end of the video. Now it's time to answer like one of the questions a lot of people asked, and I also asked myself, is it safe to upgrade the OS from Sierra to High Sierra? And as you can probably already see, I changed the OS to High Sierra. Actually, you can't really tell because I switched the background. I don't like the High Sierra one. But yeah, I switched. Everything is working fine. Everything is working stable. I, of course, before upgrading, made a backup. Very important. Even if I now will tell you that it's safe to upgrade, still make the backup. You never know what will go wrong, and losing all of your data, losing all of your songs, all of your videos, all of the music that you own is quite frustrating. Believe me, this happened to me already twice. So always backups. I got always this one here in the studio, one at home, one in a bank vault, because my entire life, my entire profession, my creative making, all is just in this one computer. Every single song I ever produced that was ever released, every remix I ever did, everything is in this machine. Without it, yeah, I'm pretty much screwed. I made a screenshot of the disk space on my hard drive. It was around 60 gigabytes before upgrading. It went to 160. So this upgrade already made totally sense. Instead of buying a new hard drive or like an external hard drive, I just gained 100 gigabyte, which is huge. All of this, of course, to the new Apple file system. Other than that, there are not really a whole lot of new functions and features. iPhoto changed a little. It's now a bit more streamlined. Safari is a lot faster. I can definitely feel that. I got a couple of hours of surfing, doing a couple of web applications, and it's definitely faster. When I opened Final Cut for the very first time, it of course went through all of my plugins. This took quite some while because I don't know why, but my Waves plugins don't work anymore. So I had to press a lot of times skip. Really a lot of times. Until I figured out I can just hold down escape. And then basically, of course, the same thing with Logic. I really don't know why, but I have to try and get in touch with Waves. It's not that all of the plugins don't work, it's just like 1/3 of them, but there's so many of them. So 1/3 is like 100 or so plugins that don't work, and I have to press skip. But yeah, other than that, it's all running smoothly. I don't have any problems at all. Everything is running. Final Cut is working as it did before. Logic as well, so I can just recommend you to upgrade from Sierra to High Sierra. You will have a lot of disk space available. Safari will be faster, a couple of new features and functions there, but mostly like hidden and smaller stuff and stuff that maybe should have been already implemented in the first place. They also got this new H.265 video codec standard for the compression, which will also save you like almost half of the file size for videos. I'm really looking forward to that because, as you know, I'm doing a video every day and it's taking up a lot of space on my hard drive, but they didn't implement it into Final Cut. I think this will definitely happen with the next upgrade. I mean, that's just the natural next step. If you're upgrading from any other OS, I don't know if I can recommend it to you. You have to try, test it out, definitely make the backup. definitely make the backup. Please make a backup before you do that. It's so important. You will, just hate yourself for not doing the backup for upgrading. But from Sierra to High Sierra, easy, natural step, doesn't change anything. Your computer looks the same. Everything is where it was before. You just, get the disk space and everything is a bit faster. So definitely a recommendation from me. Let me know if you've already upgraded, if the upgrade worked as smooth as it did for me, if you had any problems. But I think this is like by far the easiest, smoothest transition from any OS to another that I ever had. So congrats to Apple, good job. And now that everything is a little faster, I might actually be able to use my laptop a little longer and just make more music on the same machine. Speaking of music, it's now time to open up Logic, work on the next single. I finished the We Running track just last week. I'm now trying to check my options with my publisher Universal, with a couple of other labels, and if all of this doesn't really work out, I will just release it on my own label. The next track is called, I forgot what my own track is called. It's called Stay Forever. Oh no, I have to go through all of the not working licenses again. Skip. I have to go into the plugin manager and disable all of them just to make sure that this doesn't happen every time I'm opening up Logic. At the moment the song has 36 individual tracks, and it's actually already time for finer details in the mixing, adding a couple of layers, especially in the chorus part. What I really like to do is adding small pieces of chopped up vocals just in the background, instead of having a core, like a bunch of people singing in the background. Chor in German, but I don't know how to pronounce it really properly in English. Choir, I don't know, but you know what I mean. So having that in the background, I don't have the money to get 6-7 people to sing for me and do the background stuff. So I usually just chop out a little piece of the original vocal and loop it up and make sure it fits actually to the main chorus part. And there is usually one thing I do with these kind of parts that are very in the background and just there to give a little bit of atmosphere. I actually make them so wide that they are in antiphase, a thing that you usually should never do, and I probably already said in a bunch of videos. Check everything for the phase and don't go into antiphase. But sometimes it's just time to break rules, especially in creative things like making music or editing videos or whatsoever. And breaking rules can make your stuff way more interesting, but you have to be careful with it. Because those rules are usually there for beginners to have a guidance. One of them, as for example, is not to have things in antiphase, because if you have things in antiphase, they might sound really nice and wide on stereo speakers, but if you listen to them in mono, they're canceling out each other. The sine waves are then just the opposite of themselves, and if you add them together, they will just be zero, so you won't hear anything. This happens a lot if you have a guitar sound very wide. Let me actually give you a quick example of a guitar sound. What happens if you make it too wide and then collapse it back into mono? I just figured out there's one plugin or one program that doesn't work. It's called Audio Hijack. I usually use it, for example, to use the span analyzer without having Logic open, so you can load any VST or AU plugin into this program and use it in between your internal sound and external sound. And I also use it to record whenever I'm doing the screen recording. But I just connected a jack cable to my sound card right into the camera, so I could record and play you with internal sound what it sounds like to have a guitar, to stereo spread it with a sample delay. I delayed it quite a lot right into the antiphase. You can see that in the correlation meter. And then I switched it back to mono with the gain plugin that is provided with Logic. And you can hear how thin it actually sounds when you listen to it back in mono. But luckily nowadays most speakers are actually stereo. Most club systems are stereo. So you should worry definitely about not having things in antiphase. But a lot of people always will tell you that you should never ever put anything into antiphase. And that's not really true, because you should definitely be careful with like your main sounds. For example, in this song, it's guitar vocals. If the guitar is too wide and someone listens to it in mono, you will only hear the voice and the guitar will be way in the background, way more than I actually intended it to be. But for sounds that are anyways more in the background and are mainly just used to make it sound good whenever you listen to it in a better environment with better speakers and a stereo system, like for example those vocal chops in the background just to give it that atmosphere, I put them like heavily into the antiphase, because on stereo speakers it still sounds nice, and in mono, if they're gone or sound way less in the foreground, that's totally fine, because you still have the other main elements that are actually carrying the track. So it's like a small little extra I do for people that have like a better setup or a decent setup, because like listening on your phone is not really the nice way to experience music. There are a whole lot of other rules. For example, another one would be to have everything below 300 Hz mono or 250 Hz. This isn't really true anymore, because most music gets just released online and it doesn't matter. You can have even your kick in stereo if you want to, it's possible. This rule comes from the era of vinyl. Up until today, it's not possible to have anything below 300 Hz in stereo, because it's just physically not possible to get it into the grooves of a vinyl record. So basically what I want to say is there are rules that you should follow, there are rules that you should definitely learn, but it's all about learning as much as you can, learning all of the rules, all of the things that will help you to get a better mix, because in general, putting things in antiphase is a thing you shouldn't do, and generally speaking, below 300 Hz, there is not really much that should be stereo, but you should also know about how to break those rules. Try it out, just make the opposite of what you learned, and just maybe have a fun project where you do all of these kind of things. By the way, I actually made that once for an application for university. It's actually quite a fun video. I will link it right up here if you're interested, check it out. And by breaking those rules and like pushing the boundaries and trying out new stuff and using new abilities, new plugins, you will be like on the cutting edge of making music. A lot of music that I listen to that is right now in the charts is very much on this cutting edge. They try to sneak in the most element stuff, good sounding things, EQ away certain things, and try to like make it somehow possible to have more loudness or more perceived loudness, have more bass in the track, or like the feeling of bass, although there isn't actually that much bass. So it's all about like, yeah, just using the space in your mix as efficient as possible. And if you have to put something into antiphase or make a bass a bit more stereo, then just go for it. It's all allowed at the end. It's creative work, it's art. So just do whatever you feel like, but definitely at the beginning, learn like the standards. And once you've learned them, you can break them, but break them because you know that you're breaking them, and not just because you don't have a clue and you just do it by mistake. So now it's for me time to jump into Logic, work on this new track, break a couple of rules, and yeah, we'll see us later.
Until we know we are.
Yeah, I know I'm still sick, shouldn't be on the scooter, but I got completely lost working in Logic. Great for me, new track almost done. Not so great for Vanessa, she's waiting with the dinner.